My cousins, he took the money I saved for my son's surgery. He'll be once okay. My kids recover fast. She smiled, booking a trip to Rome. But a week later, she regretted it. I used to think our little apartment was a haven, a place where Tommy's laughter could drown out the world's noise. But now, as I stand in the dim light of his room, the silence is deafening, and the walls seem to whisper secrets I'm not ready to hear. Tommy's dreams have turned into nightmares, each night more terrifying than the last, and his fear has seeped into every corner of our home. I'm torn between comforting him and confronting a truth that feels just out of reach. As I hold him close, trying to soothe his trembling, I can't shake the feeling that these aren't just dreams. There's something darker, something real lurking in the shadows. What if these nightmares are a warning? What if they're a sign of something much worse than I ever imagined? My name is Laura, and I'm 34 years old. Life has been a series of challenges, but nothing prepared me for the ordeal I was about to face. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment with my son, Tommy, who's just turned 9. The walls of our home are thin, almost as if they're made of paper, whispering secrets and echoing every creak and groan of the building. Tommy's laughter used to fill these rooms, a sound so pure it could make you forget the world outside. But lately, his giggles have been replaced by a silence that's heavier than the thickest fog. It started subtly, like a shadow creeping over a sunny day. One evening, as I was cooking dinner, the aroma of garlic and tomatoes filling the air, I heard a noise from Tommy's room. Not the usual sound of toys clattering or the soft hum of his favorite cartoon. This was different, a muffled sound, like someone trying to speak with their mouth full. My heart skipped a beat as I turned off the stove and hurried to his room. There he was, sitting on the edge of his bed, his small frame hunched over, his face buried in his hands. I rushed to him, my mind racing with every possible scenario. "Tommy, what's wrong?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, fearing the answer. He looked up, his eyes red and swollen, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Mommy, I had a bad dream," he managed to say between sobs. But there was something in his eyes, a fear that went beyond the typical childhood nightmare. I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him close, feeling his little body tremble against mine. "It's okay, baby. It was just a dream," I cooed, trying to soothe him. But the unease in my gut told me this was no ordinary dream. As I held him, the room seemed to grow colder, the shadows darker. I glanced around, half expecting to see something lurking in the corners, but there was nothing, just the familiar clutter of a child's room. Yet the feeling of being watched, of something not quite right, lingered like a bad taste in my mouth. Tommy eventually calmed down, his breathing evening out as he drifted back to sleep. I stayed with him, watching the rise and fall of his chest, my mind swirling with questions. What had he seen in his dream that scared him so? Why did it feel like more than just a figment of his imagination? That night marked the beginning of a series of events that would unravel the fabric of our lives. The dreams didn't stop. They grew more vivid, more terrifying. And with each passing night, Tommy's fear became palpable, a living entity within our home. I knew then, as I sat there in the dim light of his room, that we were on the brink of something far beyond the usual trials of life. Something that would test every ounce of my strength, my love, and my resolve. Something that... The next morning, I found myself standing outside Emily's apartment, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and determination. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see her through the gap, surrounded by an array of designer luggage, her movements brisk as she packed. Her face was a canvas of mixed emotions, excitement tinged with guilt. "Emily," I called out, pushing. The door opened. She turned, her expression shifting to one of surprise, then quickly to a facade of urgency. "I needed a break, Laura," she said, her voice carrying a false sense of urgency. "I booked a luxury trip to Rome. You'll get your money back, I promise." I stood there, disbelief washing over me like a cold wave. Emily. That was Tommy's surgery. Money. My voice broke, the weight of my words hanging heavily in the air. She laughed, a cold, dismissive sound that cut through me. He'll be fine. Kids heal fast, she said, zipping up her suitcase with a finality that felt like a door slamming shut on my hopes. I left her apartment feeling more than betrayed. I felt the crushing weight of my son's future pressing down on me. The walk back to our apartment was a blur, each step heavier than the last. How could she be so heartless? Back home, I had to face Tommy, to explain why his surgery would have to wait. His disappointment was palpable, his small face trying to be brave for me, but his eyes betrayed his fear and confusion. "Mommy, when can I get better?" he asked, his voice small in the quiet of our living room. "Soon, baby," I replied, my heart aching. "We just need to wait a little longer." That night, as I lay in bed, the silence of the apartment was deafening. The walls, usually whispering with the secrets of our daily lives, now seemed to echo with the absence of Tommy's laughter. The dreams continued, each one more vivid, more terrifying. Tommy's fear had become a living entity within our home, a shadow that followed us, growing with each passing night. I couldn't shake the feeling that these dreams were more than just figments of Tommy's imagination. There was something else at play, something dark and foreboding. As I lay there, the room seemed to grow colder, the shadows darker, and I felt that same unsettling sensation of being watched. I knew then, as I lay in the dim light of my bedroom, that we were on the brink of something far beyond the usual trials of life, something that would test every ounce of my strength, my love, and my resolve, something that would push us into the depths of fear and uncertainty, where the line between dreams and reality blurred, and where the truth might be more terrifying than any nightmare. A week passed, and I was drowning in worry and anger. I had tried to contact Emily, but her phone was off. Then, one evening, as I was sitting in the dim light of our living room, the phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, and my heart skipped a beat as I answered. "Laura, it's me, Emily." Her voice came through, frantic and desperate. "I'm stuck in Rome. My accounts are frozen, and I lost my job. I can't even afford a flight back." I was shocked. Karma had indeed worked fast. Emily explained that her company had discovered her embezzlement, leading to her immediate termination and the freezing of her assets. She had no money, no job, and was essentially stranded. The twist was almost too much to bear. Emily, who had stolen from her own family, was now begging for help. I felt a mix of vindication and pity. "Laura, please, I know I messed up, but I'm in a real bind here," Emily pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion. "I've got nothing left, not even a way to get back home." I sat there, the phone pressed to my ear, the weight of her words sinking in. Here was the woman who had taken Tommy's surgery money, who had laughed off his pain, now in dire straits herself. "I need your help, Laura. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking you, please," she continued, her voice now a whisper of desperation. I was torn. Part of me wanted to hang up, to let her stew in the mess she'd made. But another part, the part that remembered the good times, the part that still saw her as family, hesitated. "Emily, you've put us through so much," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "You took from Tommy, from us, when we needed it most." I know, she sobbed. "I was selfish, and I'm sorry. But I'm scared, Laura. I'm alone here, and I don't know what to do." The room felt colder, the shadows seemed to stretch, and I could almost feel Tommy's presence, his fear, his need for justice. But then, there was also the memory of his laughter, the times when Emily had been there for us, before everything went sour. "Give me some time to think," I finally said, my voice firm. "I'll call you back." I hung up, the silence of the apartment, now filled with the echo of her plea. I walked over to Tommy's room where he lay asleep, his face peaceful for once. I sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall, thinking about the choices before me. Would I help Emily, or leave her too? Face the consequences alone? The decision was not just about her. It was about what kind of person I wanted to be. what kind of example I wanted to set for Tommy. As I sat there, the room seemed to grow colder, the shadows darker, and I felt that same unsettling sensation of being watched. It was as if the very walls were whispering, urging me to choose wisely. The dreams Tommy had been having, the palpable fear that had taken residence in our home, seemed to converge with this moment. Was there a connection? Was this some sort of test, not just for Emily, but for me too? I knew then, as I sat in the dim light of Tommy's room, that we were on the brink of something far beyond the usual trials of life. Something that would test every ounce of my strength, my love, and my resolve. Something that would push us into the depths of fear and uncertainty, where the line between dreams and reality blurred, and where the truth might be more terrifying than any nightmare. I had to decide, not just for Emily, but for Tommy, for our future, for the kind of life we would lead. The weight of this decision was heavy, but I knew I had to make it for all our sakes. I decided to fly to Rome, not out of kindness, but to confront Emily face to face. Upon arrival, I found her in a small, dingy hotel room, a stark contrast to the luxury she had envisioned. Her once vibrant demeanor was replaced by despair. "You've ruined my life," she sobbed, looking at me with eyes full of regret. I didn't think it would end like this. I stood there, the weight of my son's health hanging over me. "You've ruined more than just your life, Emily. You've played with Tommy's future," I said, my voice firm. We talked, or rather, I listened to her excuses and apologies. She promised to make amends, to work and repay every cent. But the trust was broken, and the damage was done. As I looked around the room, the reality of her situation hit me. The once opulent surroundings she had bragged about were now reduced to this. The walls were peeling, the furniture was worn, and the air was thick with the scent of mildew. Emily, who had always been so put together, now looked disheveled, her clothes wrinkled, her hair unbrushed. "I've lost everything, Laura," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "My job, my savings, my dignity. I'm so sorry for what I've done to Tommy." I felt a pang of sympathy, but it was overshadowed by the anger and betrayal. "Sorry doesn't fix Tommy's heart, Emily. It doesn't erase the nights he's cried himself to sleep, scared of his own dreams." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, I was selfish and I've been punished for it, but please, Laura, I need your help to get back home. I'll do anything to make it right." The room felt oppressive. The shadows seemed to close in, mirroring the darkness that had enveloped our lives. I remembered Tommy's laughter, his innocence, and how Emily's actions had threatened to take that away. "I need to think, Emily," I said, my voice cold. "I need to think about what's best for Tommy, not just for you." She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. "Please, Laura. I'll work off every penny. I'll do whatever it takes." I stood up, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. "I'll consider it, but understand this isn't just about money. It's about trust, about family, about the future." As I walked out of the room, the door closing behind me felt like a chapter closing in our lives. The streets of Rome were bustling, yet I felt alone, the noise around me a stark contrast to the silence in my heart. I returned to my hotel, the decision weighing heavily on me. Emily's plea for help was not just about her survival, it was a test of my own values, my compassion, my capacity to forgive. But could I really forgive someone who had endangered my son's life for her own fleeting pleasures? That night I lay in my hotel bed, the city's sounds muted through the walls. The room was cold, the shadows long, and I felt that same unsettling sensation of being watched. Was it Tommy's fear reaching out to me, or was it something else, something darker, urging me to make the right choice? I knew then, as I lay in the dim light of the hotel room, that this decision would define not just Emily's future, but ours as well. It would test every ounce of my strength, my love, and my resolve. It would push us into the depths of fear and uncertainty, where the line between dreams and reality blurred, and where the truth might be more terrifying than any nightmare. Next morning, I called Emily back. "I've decided," I said, my voice steady. "I'll help you get back, but on one condition. You work to repay what you've taken, and you do it without complaint or delay. And you stay away from Tommy until he's healed, both physically and emotionally. There was a pause, then a soft, "Thank you, Laura. I'll make it right, I promise." I hung up. The decision. The climax came unexpectedly. As we were discussing her repayment plan, there was a knock at the door. It was the Italian police, informed by her former employer about her whereabouts. Emily was arrested for fraud and embezzlement, her passport seized and her freedom taken away. I watched as she was led away, handcuffed, her dream vacation now a distant, bitter memory. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her attempt to escape her problems had only ensnared her further. I felt a mix of relief and sadness. Emily's actions had consequences, and now she would face them. What would happen to Tommy's surgery now? The room felt colder as the officers escorted Emily out. Her eyes met mine, a silent plea for understanding, but all I could see was the betrayal, the pain she had caused. The door closed behind them, the sound echoing like a gavel in a courtroom, final and condemning. I stood there, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Emily's arrest might have been justice served, but it didn't solve our immediate crisis. Tommy's health was still at stake, his surgery funds now more elusive than ever. I walked back to my hotel, each step heavy with the burden of responsibility. The vibrant streets of Rome seemed to mock me with their life and energy, contrasting sharply with the turmoil in my heart. Once back in my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, the silence oppressive. The shadows in the room seemed to grow, enveloping me in a darkness that mirrored the uncertainty of our future. I thought of Tommy, his innocent face, his fear, and the dreams that had haunted him. The phone rang, breaking the silence. It was the hospital back home, calling to confirm Tommy's surgery date. My heart sank. "I need to postpone," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The nurse on the other end was sympathetic but firm. They couldn't hold the slot indefinitely. I hung up, feeling the walls closing in. The decision to help Emily had been about setting an example for Tommy, about showing him the importance of forgiveness and family. But now, with Emily in custody, the financial strain was palpable, the future uncertain. I lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, the shadows playing tricks with my eyes. The sensation of being watched returned, stronger this time, as if the very essence of our predicament was observing, waiting for my next move. The dreams Tommy had been having, the palpable fear that had taken residence in our home, seemed to converge with this moment. Was there a connection? Was this some sort of test, not just for Emily, but for me too? I knew then, as I lay in the dim light of the hotel room, that this decision would define not just Emily's future, but ours as well. It would test every ounce of my strength, my love, and my resolve. It would push us into the depths of fear and uncertainty, where the line between dreams and reality blurred, and where the truth might be more terrifying than any nightmare. The next morning, I called the hospital again. "I'll find a way," I said, determination seeping into my voice. "Please give me a little more time." I packed my things, the decision to return home clear in my mind. Emily's situation was out of my hands now, but Tommy's was not. I had to find a way to secure his surgery, to ensure his health and happiness, no matter the cost. As I walked through the bustling streets of Rome, heading towards the airport, I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, but also a resolve hardening within me. I would face this trial not just for Tommy, but for us, for our future. The journey back would be long, but I knew it was the path I had to take, the only way forward in this tangled web of dreams and reality. Back home, I was met with a surprising turn of events. The community had rallied around Tommy's story, which had spread through local news and social media. A fundraiser was organized, and within days we had raised enough for Tommy's surgery. I remember walking into our apartment, the weight of the world still heavy on my shoulders, when I saw the living room transformed. There were posters, flyers, and a big banner that read, "Tommy's Heart, Our Hope." The neighbors, friends, and even strangers had come together, their faces filled with concern and kindness. The fundraiser was a whirlwind of emotions. People from all walks of life donated, shared stories of their own struggles, and offered words of encouragement. The local news covered the event, amplifying Tommy's plight, turning our personal crisis into a community cause. Tommy underwent his operation, which was successful. As he recovered, I reflected on the events. Emily's betrayal had inadvertently brought our community together, showing me the strength of human kindness. I sat by Tommy's hospital bed, watching his chest rise and fall with a new, stronger heartbeat, and I felt a mix of relief and profound gratitude. The hospital room was filled with cards and small gifts from well-wishers. Each one was a testament to the unexpected support we had received. Tommy, still weak but with a smile that could light up the darkest room, looked at me with those big, hopeful eyes. "Mommy, did you see all the people who helped me?" he asked, his voice still a whisper from the anesthesia. "Yes, baby," I replied, my heart swelling with love and a touch of sorrow for what he had endured. "They all love you very much." Emily, now facing legal battles in Italy, had sent a letter apologizing and promising to make amends once she could. Whether she would ever be able to fulfill that promise remained uncertain. Her words were filled with regret, but the damage she had done was palpable, a scar on our family that might never fully heal. I read her letter in the quiet of our apartment, the walls no longer whispering secrets but echoing with the absence of her presence. Her words were sincere, but the trust was shattered. "Laura, I'm sorry for everything. I'll make it right. I swear," she wrote. But could she? Could anyone? Life had taught me a harsh lesson about trust and family, but also about the unexpected ways in which support can come. Karma had indeed worked swiftly, but it also showed that sometimes, from the darkest moments light can emerge. The community's response was like a beacon, guiding us through the storm. As Tommy's laughter began to fill our home again, it was different, tinged with a new understanding of life's fragility and the power of collective goodwill. He played with his toys, his movements more cautious, his smiles more precious. I watched him, feeling a mixture of joy and the lingering fear of what could have been. The future for Tommy and me was uncertain, but there was hope. The community had not only provided for his surgery, but had also given us a network of support, a safety net we never knew we needed. Neighbors checked in, friends offered to help with chores, and the local school even set up a buddy system for Tommy to ease his return. I often thought about Emily, her choices, and the path she had taken. Her actions had consequences, but they also sparked a chain reaction of kindness. It was a paradox, a lesson in the duality of human nature. As I tucked Tommy into bed one night, his eyes heavy with sleep but his spirit lighter, I whispered, "You're going to be okay, Tommy. We're going to be okay." And I believed it, not just because of the surgery, but because of the community that had rallied around us. The future held many questions, but one thing was clear. We were not alone. The storm had passed, but its lessons lingered, shaping us, guiding us towards a future where Tommy's heart would beat strong, supported by the love and kindness of many. And as for Emily, her journey was her own, a path of redemption or further downfall, only time would tell. But for now, we had each other, and that was enough. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.